Hi, I'm Charles, and I'm a beekeeper that loves old bee equipment. Today I wanted to talk about prepping for swarm calls. This is a departure from our videos typically, but with the season upon us, I wanted to discuss the fundamental tools of the trade in capturing swarms by showing off my setup that I use from April to June each year when I'm responding to swarm calls. Pardon this video today, it's rather windy. It's not the best of weather, but I wanted to get it out to you since here, at least in central Maryland, we're about to enter swarm season. I know folks in the south and the southwest are already chasing around swarms, but that's about to start happening for us. We're in the last days of March 2021 right now. It's been unseasonably warm, and just the right conditions for a lot of early swarms will begin. Here in central Maryland, I'm known as one of our local swarm chasers. I'm one of many and not even the most skilled here in the region, but I do tend to catch about 20-30 swarms a year. I'll talk a little bit about building your support network for capturing swarms if that's something you want to do. And I'm even going to do a little class on swarms that I presented to a few different bee clubs in the region. But today I'm going to discuss some of the fundamentals for going out and capturing swarms. Well, what are some of the fundamentals? First, well, you need some place to put the bees. In a dire situation where I didn't have anything or other folks didn't have anything, a cardboard box or a container works. I've seen some people have good success with those plastic buckets for cat litter or just a 5-gallon bucket with a lid. Okay, it'll work in initially capturing, but if you take them, you're going to have to move them into a hive and you're going to have to shake them again, and that's going to increase your likelihood of absconding. What we want to do is prevent absconding, which is where the bees decide, you know what, I'm not going to stay here. And there's a number of factors that can lead to them doing that. We're going to do our best to make sure that they stay. What I use for most swarm captures is a deep. If I run out of deeps, I'll move on to some other things I have, such as nuke boxes, but I prefer a deep because the abscond rate is significantly smaller when I use this. In fact, when you go out and use swarm traps, you want at least the size of a deep, if not more, because they tend not to like those smaller areas. It doesn't mean it won't work, but it does mean they will abscond more often. I also choose a hive bottom that is closed, not ventilated. The reason why is sometimes if I have the bees marching in, they'll climb on the bottom of the hive, and I want to get as many inside as possible. So I have a bottom board that's actually very flat on the bottom so that they can't climb under it. All right, now inside the hive, I have no inner cover because I don't want a notch or anything to prevent it. And the hive box itself is solid. There's no holes in it because I need to be able to seal this box, right? Inside, I have a few frames of drawn comb, ones that are ready. I often like to put, at least before I head out in the call, I go into my shed, I grab some honey from a hive that may have died, and I'll put that in here. It could even be a short frame or a medium frame, but I'll put that in here anyway, because it's better they just have food. It's one of the things that might make them stay. A prolific swarm chaser in our area known as Josh Callow has advised putting open brood in these too, like just a frame with some open brood, because that kind of makes the bees think that they're settled. I've read time and time again that that does work. It's not something I do because my abscond rate's very, very small as it is. I haven't had one abscond on me in a couple of years now, but it's another thing that you can do. In here, I do have all 10 frames. Fun fact, a lot of the time I'll use my frames that are a little used. One, because it smells like the bees, and two, it's because in time I'm going to rotate them out. Another thing I use is this guy. This is your entrance reducer. Make sure that your entrance reducer properly fits. This one does not, meaning I have to trim it down a little bit because some of the makes and models are a little bit different. But when I put it in here, I use the smallest setting. In fact, I'll keep it on the smallest setting for the first week that it's there. The reason I'll use this when I go out and do swarms is because I want to jam a piece of paper or something easy to block this entrance when I move the hive. Because when you're moving the hive, especially because I typically move them at night, because everybody's home, all the foragers are home, and they'll stay with the hive, at least during the movement, they're a lot more touchy at night. They don't like being rattled around. They don't like being thrown in the back of my truck. So I try to seal the hive as best I can. One of the things you should use if you want to lower your abscond rate is bait. Now you could shake them in there, and if you get the queen, they will march in. However, I like to use bait because more or less you can just shake the bees right in front of the hive and they'll march in. You can look for the queen during that process. It makes it a lot easier for you. I'll use Swarm Commander, which is pretty much cheating because you can spray this stuff on a stick and bees will be heavily attracted to it. Lemongrass will work honestly just as well to get them to march in. But remember, this is a $30 bottle. So do you want to spend that much on it? I catch a lot of these things. Lemongrass will work probably just as effectively for you, at least for this purpose. Now, there's another thing that you can do to lower your abscond rate. That's catching your queen and caging them for the first few days. It works. A lot of beekeepers will do it. It'll pretty much just destroy your abscond rate to where they just don't abscond. You can use the queen clip, which it does work, but remember, one of the things they do before they swarm is that they'll starve the queen for a couple days. That makes her fly a lot better. Well, she might shimmy right out of this thing. There are folks that'll reinforce this with rubber bands. That way there's little gaps so that the bees can feed her. But once again, it's up to you if you want to use this. A lot of folks will also use these guys, which I'm trying to remember the formal name for this type of queen cage. But you can put her in there and then pop a marshmallow right in the end and stick it in the hive, and that works just as effectively too. Now, how do we bait a hive in preparation? Well, you can just use the spray bottle and put one good sprit on the back of the top frames back here. I'll also put one in the hive itself in the far back, and then I'll put one at the entrance. There's also folks that'll take a cotton swab and wet that and use that to dab those 4 places, and then they'll throw the cotton swab inside of these bait hives. I'm catching swarms a lot of the time, so I don't think you need to be that extra, but it can only help you, I believe. Remember, a little bait goes a long way. You only have to do more or less the equivalent of 1 or 2 sprits of that in dabbing it in there. Don't use too much. Too much can actually hurt you. So that little bit. And you might touch it up, especially on the back 2 frames. Let's say if it's 2 months from now. But a lot of the time I don't even have to do that. I just give it a sprit when I first set it up, and it ruminates, and then it works effectively to get them to march in for me. Now, another thing that you should have, because it's a beekeeper's best friend, ratchet straps. These are your best friend. Let's talk beyond catching swarms. These folks will allow you to put your hives together to move them. They'll allow you to put your hives together during hurricanes or tornadoes. It'll help keep your hive together. I've seen it where bears have tried to smash up hives but weren't too successful because a pair of ratchet straps holding it. Furthermore, a thing I've noticed anecdotally with vandals in Baltimore City is that they might kick over a hive and be bold enough to do that, but they might not be bold enough to go over and try to undo the ratchet straps, or they might just not know how. A lot of folks just don't know how to use ratchet straps, and it's a significant number of people. So they're not going to sit and fool with it. If they're going to vandalize your hive, they're just going to kick it over, and if it's kept together well like this, it'll really minimize your damage. So have ratchet straps. But I'll have these ratchet straps, and I always have them ready. I'll lay them down first during a swarm capture, because I don't want to have to lift the hive later when it's bees pouring out of it to wrap them on after. I'll put these down first and then the hive on top of it. Alright, we have ratchet straps attached, so Let's ratchet it shut. That's all it takes. So now, easy to move. It's all together, all in one place. Got a nice piece of wood right here that'll block it, keep any bees from escaping. And now I can manipulate it throughout the yard as I need it. So what's the next thing we need for our swarm? Well, we have something to put them in. Now we need a way to get to the bees. They can be in places that are just painful to get to. Sometimes you're lucky and they're at the lower end of a bush. Sometimes you're out of luck and they're 30 feet up in the air. Well, what you're gonna need to get to a lot of these hives is a ladder. This here is a 8-foot tall ladder. I personally refuse to go on a ladder any higher than this because it can be dangerous. I repeat, it can be dangerous to use a ladder. I was a lot more foolhardy back when I chased swarms in the beginning, but when you climb up these things, you're really putting yourself in peril, especially if you're dealing with stingy insects, for example. So you're definitely going to want to have access to some sort of ladder. Even if it's just going and snipping a piece of a branch that has the bees on it and pulling them down, you'll want something like this. I prefer step ladders because they're a lot more sturdy, and a lot of the time I can either have somebody that called me hold the ladder, which is one reason I always bring a extra bee suit to throw over. Another safety thing is making sure that the ladder is well attached. This is ratchet strapped to the bed of my truck here. That way it does not come loose, it does not fall out, it does not only just get destroyed, but it doesn't actually kill somebody behind me. I'll put it this way, I've seen a lot of swarm folks laugh about the number of ladders that have fallen out of the back of their trucks or off the top of their vehicles. Make sure these things are secure. It's not a joke. It could really kill somebody. Another method that people often use is some sort of pool net to get up to them. Now, this may not seem very long, but this goes up to 16 feet. I think I'll turn it this way and we'll push it out here just to get a little bit of a sample of how long it is. Pardon, this thing hasn't been used in a season, so it's a little rusty for me. But sometimes these things are pretty far up there to where you might be up on a ladder, and this might be your method of just shaking and getting them. Pretty much if they are more than, I'd argue more than 10 feet off the ground, there's no getting the branch and shaking them to the ground. That's not going to work out for you. They're going to catch themselves and fly back up, and barely any bees are going to come down. I've seen people modify office water jugs or water tanks and put those at the top of the pole. That way they can come at it from right below and poke upward and then bring most of it down. It's all up to you. It's another thing you can modify, and you can basically use one of these nets and pull that off. Honestly, this guy saved me a lot of trouble. What are some miscellaneous things that we'll want to bring to our swarm capture? Well, there are two that I always bring. One, have a good pair of loppers. Make sure they're sharp, they can cut limbs. They're extremely helpful. You'll have situations where the branch is high up, you'll climb up on the ladder, but instead of carrying that heavy box and trying to shake into it, you can just snip the branch, carry the branch down with you, and then shake it. That way you're dealing with the rough part of it down by the ground. One thing I'll also carry with me is about 100 feet of rope. This is incredibly helpful for situations where the hive is about 10 feet off the ground on a branch, and I can put the hive down on the ground, throw this rope over it, tie it to the branch, and just shake the whole branch and get them down. Some other good miscellaneous things to have: a flashlight that is not your phone. Please do not depend on your phone. If you needed to call 911 or there was an emergency, that battery needs to be there for you. So keep that phone handy and on you. Have a flashlight. Do remember when capturing swarms at night, however, that they're going to be a lot touchier than they are during the day. During the day, they're not very stingy at all. In fact, it's the most docile you'll find bees. But at nighttime, when they're in that cluster and they're all together, they're going to be a little bit more touchy. Bring 2 suits. one for you and one for a volunteer that might hold a ladder for you, or one for an observer. A lot of the time you'll get calls from people and they want to watch you in action. Do yourself a favor too and bring a pair of gloves. You may not normally work with gloves. You might say, hey, I'm a true beekeeper, I don't need them. Well, once again, you might be on a ladder. Might not be the best time to get stung in the hand, right? Furthermore, you might reach into some type of thorny rose bush or some type of thorny plant to get your swarm. Have gloves. There's no reason not to have them on hand. They can only help you. For those of you that have to use a car or have to have the hive in the cab with you for whatever reason, please do not do that unless you have some type of mesh sack. They have these great sacks that have netting in them that are made for that purpose. You can put it around the hive, you can tighten it real well, and then you can just put it in the cab there with you. Please do not drive around with bees in the cab. I have had situations where that just has happened. They're no good. They're no good. It also gives you the opportunity too to reuse it if you purchase packages of bees. That way you can put one right in the package, or two of them, or however many you bought, and put them there in the cab with you where it's nice and cool. It's not like cooking them out in the sun or having them in the truck bed where they might slide around a little bit on you or break open. It is a great thing to have, especially because on the outside of those packages are what are called hobo bees that are just kind of hanging out. It's not fun to get stung when you're driving.